The next 5 banks should quietly disappear from the banking world. Yeah, you heard me right. We're gonna talk about the 5 worst banks that you need to stay away from, because every one of these banks have shown that they do not care about their customers. Now understand, this is not financial advice or legal advice, and I am not an attorney. But before we get into this list, make sure that you smash that like and subscribe button so this video gets out to more people so everyone can stay informed. What I found out about the #1 worst bank in America is going to shock you. I don't believe anybody has covered this story, or let alone dug this deep to find out this crazy information that is going to shock you. Coming in at number 5 is TD Bank. TD Bank pleads guilty to Bank Secrecy Act and money laundering conspiracy violations in $1.8 billion resolution. And that $1.8 billion resolution ballooned to over $3 billion. And you're probably like, Mike, why does this even matter? Like, it doesn't affect me. But hold on. Don't go so fast. And you're probably like, who cares? That doesn't matter. It doesn't affect me. Probably every bank is money laundering out there anyway. Allegedly, okay? Allegedly. But no, it didn't just stop there, because all of this has spiraled out of control, and now TD Bank is no longer paying the taxes on anyone that has a mortgage through TD Bank. You're like, okay, but why is that a big deal? Because a lot of people that got these notices did not understand any of the verbiage and did not read the fine print. Many people all over the interwebs are actually speculating that TD Bank is setting up customers for mortgages to foreclose. So this is really crazy. When I got a hold of this story, I was like, how is nobody else talking about this? This is wild. So on top of the money laundering scheme that they were caught doing with the cartel, yes, they were money laundering for the cartel, which is wild. Now on top of that, they got rid of their entire tax-paying department for anyone that has a mortgage with TD Bank. So now they're not paying your mortgage taxes. So what happens if you don't pay your mortgage taxes? They can foreclose on you. Let's watch this small clip from this young lady called Nitty Knits on TikTok. And that's exactly how I actually found the story, and I went digging even more. Now listen, this was a 5-minute video, and I cut it down to give you the straight meat and potatoes so we don't have to sit through that entire 5 minutes.
Well, fear not, because I have a mortgage with TD and my banking with TD, and last week I got a letter that was dated October 21st, and it says, important changes to your property tax component of your TD mortgage. So I emailed this person who I know handles the property taxes, and the response I got back this morning was, oh, you must bank with TD. They've abolished their property tax program. They're no longer collecting and paying property taxes. But fear not, we can set you up on monthly payments so that you don't have to try and come up with a lump sum. You have to get set up by December 15th. The new wording, you will be paying your own property taxes to your municipality. You agree to pay your property taxes as soon as they are due, and then you will send us proof of that payment.
The Reddit story really digs into this entire situation with TD Bank, but if you have a mortgage with TD Bank, make sure to reach out to your city hall and reach out to the tax department to see if your taxes have been paid, or you may have to switch over so they don't foreclose on your home. Coming in at number 4 is Chime Bank. Well, actually they're called Chime now because they were in fact sued by the state of California for calling themselves Chime Bank when they weren't a bank. And you may not have heard about this, but the Biden administration orders online banker Chime to pay $4.55 million over delayed refunds to customers. So basically, to wrap this up in a nutshell, Chime Bank was closing bank accounts for whatever reason they deemed any kind of fraudulent activity on those accounts. They would shut them down, and then people didn't get access to their money, so their money would just disappear. Chime was like, oh, that's our money, not your money, bro. And here's the thing, it's not just the Biden administration, it's been the Bush administration, the Clinton administration, the Obama administration, every single different administration. Whenever the CFPB gets involved and the government gets involved, none of these people get real restitution. So I don't know of any of these people that actually got their money back. Now, of course, Biden administration hit them with that massive fine, but of course, what happened with the money? Did people actually get their money back is the big question. If you were one of those Chime people, drop it in the comment section. Let us know if you got your money back from Chime. Coming in at number 3 is Wells Fargo. You all pretty much know that Wells Fargo has been wrapped up in some of the craziest stories stories and craziest things of how they have taken advantage of consumers. But the biggest story of them all was Wells Fargo agrees to pay $3 billion to resolve criminal and civil investigations into sales practices involving the opening of millions of accounts without customer authorization. So people would wake up and they had checking accounts, credit cards, all opened in their name that they had no idea were even open, and they did not authorize Wells Fargo to do so. And if you really want to go digging, just simply type in a Google search, Wells Fargo gets sued, and you're gonna see so many stories of different situations. I don't want to cover them all in this video because it would be a really long video. Just understand that this single story right here is what drives me to never ever mention any product that comes from Wells Fargo, whether it be directly with Wells Fargo or it's an actual credit card like the Built credit card that is backed by Wells Fargo. I want nothing to do with this bank. I want to give a special shout out to all my beasters out there that are working hard to fix their credit using DisputeBeast, the most advanced AI credit repair software ever created, and specifically to Wesley, Wesley's credit score went up over 226 points after just 2 rounds with DisputeBeast, and also Marcus's credit score went up 337 points after just 2 rounds with DisputeBeast, and let's not forget Richard's credit score went up 446 points after just 1 round with DisputeBeast. DisputeBeast is going to be pinned at the very top of the comments and in the video description for anybody that needs to fix their credit. Last part's the most important. Moving on to number 2. The number 2 spot goes to Bank of America, one of the largest financial institutions in the United States. Now listen, I'm not gonna leave you hanging. After number 1, I'm gonna tell you what is the safest way for you to actually bank, so make sure you stick here with me. Bank of America to pay $16.65 billion in historic Justice Department settlement for financial fraud leading up to and during the financial crisis. So the bank has agreed to pay $7 billion in relief to struggling homeowners, borrowers, and communities affected by the bank's conduct. This is appropriate given the size and scope of the wrongdoing of the issue. Then in 2023, the CFPB takes action against Bank of America for illegally charging junk fees, withholding credit card rewards, and opening fake accounts. You notice that number 2 and number 3 had something in common: opening fake accounts. If these 2 banks were doing it, how many other banks have also been doing it, but they just haven't been caught? But the story reads, Bank of America will pay more than $100 million to harmed consumers and $150 million in penalties to the CFPB and the Office of Controller of the Currency. This is crazy. So they literally come up with the number that, okay, so we're gonna give $100 million to the harmed consumers, but $150 million of that is gonna go to the CFPB to fund us so we can still keep doing this? Or what are y'all really doing with all that money? Now, if you were somebody that was affected by Wells Fargo or Bank of America, drop it in the comment section. Let us know that they actually did pay you, because I don't know a soul that's ever been paid by any of these type of settlements. And the number 1 spot goes to Credit One Bank. That's right, Credit One Bank. If you have a Credit One credit card, you're gonna want to listen to this because this is wild. And please don't come into the comments saying, oh, but I have a Credit One credit card and they've been so great to me. Guess what? They're ranked number 1 as the worst for a lot of reasons. Credit One Bank has a poor reputation due to its high fees and lack of basic services. Some say that Credit One takes advantage of people with bad credit by charging high fees for services that most other credit card issuers offer for free. Credit One not only is one of the worst banks and they have the worst customer service, high fees, and all that other stuff, but if you pay attention, their logo, Credit One Bank logo, looks very similar to Capital One's logo, so it confuses consumers and they're like, oh, I thought I had a Capital One. What is this Credit One credit card? Because of course, people just don't pay attention and they wind up getting stuck with one of these Credit One Bank credit cards. But I went digging a little bit more and I said, well, who owns Credit One? That's a really interesting question. Well, it's owned by Sherman Financial Group LLC. And then who owns Sherman Financials? Benjamin Navarro. All right, so what else does Benjamin Navarro own? And what else does Sherman Financial Group own? Sherman Financial Group LLC is the parent organization of LVNV Funding LLC. LVNV Funding is a debt collection agency that buys written off debts from lenders such as credit card debt, personal loans, or installment loans. Resurgent Capital Services manages LVNV Funding accounts. So it's Resurgent Capital, and LVNV Funding is owned by Sherman Financial, who owns Credit One credit cards, and of course Credit One Bank. Now, if you're wondering, but why is their customer service so bad? Well, if they're owned by a debt collecting company and they piss you off enough, you're like, I'm not paying. Guess what? They'll just come after you and sue you with their debt collection company. This is all a big Ponzi scheme in my personal opinion. But of course, this is all alleged, right? It's all alleged because they are going after subprime borrowers, people with low credit scores. They try to get you into the Credit One family, then make you miserable, and then you don't pay them, and then they just come after you and sue you. And the majority of the time, LVNV funding or Resurgent Capital is gonna get a default judgment on you because you didn't show up to court. Because a lot of people say, I'm not going. What are they gonna do? They can garnish your wages. So if you don't show up to their court and you don't appear, then they will win a default judgment against you, and they can garnish your wages, they can garnish taxes, they can put liens on properties, of course, depending on the state, because every state is different. But if LVNV funding can do it, they will go after you. Stop putting your money into these big, massive conglomerate banks that don't care about you. Go bank with a credit union and then establish a proper relationship, open a checking, a savings, do a secured loan, and then that is going to be your path to better credit and better financial management, because a credit union cares about their members. Unlike these massive banks who don't care, they're going to try to take advantage of you every chance they get, as I've shown with this top 5 list. Some of the best credit unions are going to be Andrews Federal Credit Union, Navy Federal. Now, Navy Federal has been a part of some shady things, so they keep dropping down the list. They're just on the list because they are still good until they get really even worse, I guess. NIH Federal Credit Union, Langley Federal Credit Union, NASA Federal Credit Union, DCU, and Patelco Federal Credit Union, Liberty Federal Credit Union, and Dover Federal Credit Union. Some of these, like Navy Federal, you have to be in the armed forces or have a relative to get you in, but a lot of the other ones, anyone can join them, and you're gonna get better banking, better credit cards, better options, and you're gonna have a better life moving into a better financial future. So remember, if you want to establish and build a relationship properly with a credit union, you open up a checking, a savings, do a secured loan, do a direct deposit, do all of that for a minimum of 6 to 8 months, and then go apply for a credit card. And the majority of these banks are going to be willing to give you something better than all these crappy credit cards. You don't need crappy credit cards. You don't need crappy bank accounts. Go bank with a credit union. I can't stress that enough to you. So I hope you enjoyed this video. We covered another big one on the worst banks that you need to stay away from. Now make sure that you watch this next video because it is about an American Express credit card you may want to learn about. And if you felt that I brought you some value in this video, make sure that you don't forget and subscribe to increase your credit score.